Okay everybody, so this is the last video I want to do on working on the bike. This is of course the Mongoose ARDOR. Today is Saturday the 14th, 21. So far everything is done. The brakes are dialed in right. I usually like to have the brakes a little tight, responsive, and this is where it should be, and it's responding. No noise, no squeaking. As you can see, there's no squeaking coming from the brake, no squeaking coming from the brakes area for the front and the rear. And these brakes are not the greatest brakes, but as you can see, if you can see right in there for you bike guys, it's about as perfect that you can get it. It's a little wobble to the left here. A little wobble, as you can see, it's just a little to the left here. I'm trying to get to see the light through it. And then what you can do is you can see the light through it. It tells you how much spacing. I might have to work on it just a little bit more. Push it back a little bit towards this way on something or a little bit of it, but other than that, see, like right now it looks really good for both sides of the pads. It's equal distance, and then right about here there's a little bit of bend in there, but it still doesn't have no real major effect. It's not stopping the wheel. It could free go by itself for a while, so that tells you that it's not really making it's not scrubbing or rubbing against it. It's hard to keep it from actually free going. Other than that, everything, the gears are working. The drivetrain is working. I got that working really good. From 1 all the way down to 7. This is a 1x7, like I said before. Everybody should know that by now if you're looking into buying this bike. Now, what I would say about this bike is, if you get this out of the box, you have to take it to a shop, or you have to know how to work on this bike, or work on bikes for that matter. I can't see this out of the box working for anyone. If you don't know how to work on bikes and how to do the brakes was an issue. You might get some damage. I had damage on this bike from delivery. I don't know if it was somebody else that had this bike before, because this bike is very hard to get from any bike. Any one of these nice bikes are kind of hard to get from Walmart. Like the Schwinn Axum and stuff like that, those bikes are very hard to get. This bike is very hard to get, so I don't know if somebody had this bike prior to me and probably damaged the derailleur, but if it was manufacturing, if it was a defect that happened, or no damage that happened during delivery, I don't know. I can't say. But if you don't know how to work on these bikes, you're going to have to take this to a shop, because nothing works out of the box when it comes to this bike. All the videos or the reviews I've seen of this bike, I have not seen nobody review say right out of the box it's perfect. This is not like that. My other bike that I have over there, that one came out more likely. The drivetrain was working 100%. I didn't really have to do nothing to that. The brakes needed to be worked on a little bit, but that was really it. It came virtually good, about 90+%. This one, damage from shipping, had to fix the rear derailleur. The brakes weren't dialed in. They needed a lot of work. The wheels were uneven. When it comes to the back wheel, my rear wheel here, these things have this new, I call it new, where you just put it, the mounting bracket is straight up and down, right? So when you put the wheel in there, it doesn't have any side-to-side play, not that much. So it's all this way, other than this way. So you have to really, when it comes to having a bike stand like this, most bikes, what we used to be able to do was at an angle, like a 45-degree angle, right? Now, most of these bikes are coming where it's straight vertical to put the wheel in. What I did was I put, out of the box, the wheel was rubbing against this stupid freaking kickstand, which I am going to take off. I don't like the center kickstands. I like it when it's on the rear post here, lower post, where it's out of the way, like that bike. That one has it on the rear, and that's out of the way. So it has almost it's impossible for the wheel to interact with that unless you bend it somehow to the back. This one has to come around the wheel. And if there's any deviation in where this wheel is, side to side, it's going to rub against this, and I know a lot of bike guys know that. That's why I never liked the kickstand here. Now, I am a kickstand person. I do like kickstands. I do see their need and their purpose. Some people don't like kickstands, but I like it so that I can prop my bike up when I'm home or if I'm outside riding and I want to just sit down. I want to be able to have that option to have my bike on a kickstand so I can just have it up and I have to worry about laying it on the floor, damaging it. It takes more space on the floor. So it's like you have to find a way to prop it up against a chair or a tree or a log or something. And that's so annoying. I'd rather have something where I can just hit it real fast and it's there. So I will be taking this off and trying to find another one that goes in the back that I can mount here in the back. It doesn't have any mounts for a kickstand, but they do have some, all over the place where you can, it comes with the tools to make a mount for the kickstand. So I'm going to take this one off and I'm going to get a better kickstand. But as I was saying, you have to really play with this kind of setup for these wheels, these rear wheels. And of course, it's not a quick release or through axle. It's this old fashioned, bolted on. And I don't like these bolted on ones because it doesn't have any real, how you would say, secondary or it doesn't have any other way to keep itself in here. If rolling over bumps and stuff like that, you could put this thing in all the way to spec, tightness, pounds per, whatever, and you still can get this thing. These things do get loose as you shaking and bouncing around in the dirt or wherever you're going over. Over time, this does get loose. Now, me over the years that I've been riding mountain bikes, I've learned that. And back in the day, when it was like that at an angle, what happens is as you ride, the force of you riding, if this does get loose, if it's a bolt, it will go upward. It will go further up into the catch up here. This does not have that. So I don't hear nobody really talking about this online on their reviews of these bikes with these rear bolted axles. It just goes straight down. So if this does get loose on somebody riding their bike, if you buy this for a kid or a teenager that doesn't really care too much for making sure this thing is tight every time you stop this bike, you ride it and you go home, you should try to work on your bike to make sure everything is good before you go on another ride. That's what I do. But if this gets loose, right, it only has down to go. It doesn't have any hooks at the bottom. It doesn't have any hooks down there. It's just on here. Sorry for so it doesn't, see, that's all the way up, and it doesn't have anything down there to hold it in. If this bolt gets loose over time, most people are not mechanics. They're not working on their bikes. And if that's a regular Joe, you're not going to really worry about this, right? And goes the same for the other side. It's just going to fall out on you, and then that could be a very bad spill. Jumps and stuff. They made this bike so that you can do some kind of light mountain biking jumps and stuff like that, right? They got the big, nice tires, which is getting very popular now. The suspension is not great at all, but the tires, they're giving you the option. It's a one by, it's a one by, so that's automatically made for you to do uphill and downhill mountain biking. This is definitely not really made for you to be on the street, regular street. You can do street riding, urban riding on this bike. Of course you can, but it's not designed for it more than less, right? It's made for you to be on the trail. I would think that they would use a little bit of extra money and put in a quick release or at least a through axle so that you have a little bit more security when it comes to these back bolts. This is very dangerous in my book. I don't like that you go straight up and down, it's straight vertical. The ones where it went to the back, or if it was a quick release, it has little hooks, just like in the front here. Sorry for the angle. You see right here, it has a hook right here. And what will happen is if this were to get loose for whatever reason while you're riding, if it goes all the way down, you will start to feel it going up and down. It's loose. It's going to get hit right here more than likely. And on the other side, the same thing. And it's going to get stuck here. Now that would, you will know, like as soon as it gets down here and your wheel starts to go up and down, you will notice automatically. And most people know to stop real fast, and tighten this up, right? I know most people might say, well, you should already had it tight enough before you roll, but this is security. This is what is here to make sure it doesn't just slip out. That's called security. Now, yeah, you might take all the precautions to make sure that this is tight. I make sure that it's tight, not too tight, but tight enough to hold itself. That doesn't mean that accidents don't happen. And that's one of the main reasons why I like having the quick release or through axle, where they have these little hooks, and through axles are even better because it's all the way closed. There's no opening here. You go straight through, of course, and it's very hard, if not impossible, for that to fail, right? So you don't have to worry about your front wheel or even your rear wheel if you have a through axle falling out on you while you're making jumps and shaking this thing up a lot, going over rocks and tree trunks and whatever else. Everything on a trail. You got trees, you got broken wood everywhere, you got rocks, you got stones, you got everything that can shake this thing up. It's going to be stressed out. So that's one of the main things that I really don't like about this kind of bike. I like that they gave me the front one without that. A lot of bikes are doing that. These big box stores bikes are, Mongoose and Pacific. They are going with they always seem to come with the front axle as either a quick release. And if you have a bike that's a little bit more expensive, you might have a through axle on the rear and not the front. You might have a quick release on the front and a through axle on the rear. And, then you got to go even more money. And then you more than likely going to get either both quick release or both through axles. These are the best two options there are. When they want to cut corners, they do it this way, which is not cool. They should have always just add a little bit of money to the job. Get a through axle or have at least a quick release so you have better security on these kind of bikes. I do not like this. And even if I wanted to make this a quick release, it's not proper. It doesn't have the hooks back here that will hold it in place. It's just not made that way. So it's like, even if you do want to go and change it into a quick release, it's just not made for that. So even if it get loose, it still doesn't have those little hooks to make sure that it doesn't just easily fall out. So that's my little one thing that I have to say about that. But like I was saying, I would say if you want to get this bike, get the Mongoose ARDOR. You definitely have to do some work on this bike to make sure that this bike is ready to go on a trail. I had to do a lot of work on it. So far, I've been working on it. I had to do the brakes. I constantly had to, dial it in correctly, the brakes, making sure that it has, making sure that it's tight so that I can stop. That's one of the major things. You have to be able to stop yourself. And I got it to where I believe is good. Like I said, I am going to go with changing out the brakes on this bike to the more reliable I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought just now. Hydraulic brakes. Hydraulic brakes, of course, is with water or liquid or anything that's, it could be oil, it could be water, whatever. More likely it's oil based. Most hydraulic lines are oil based. So as I said, this is a good bike. It is a starter bike. If you want to do some light trails, light jumps, you can do all of that with this. Nothing higher, no black, no diamond. I would never put this through that kind of stress. Just forking, good for that at all. It's not a pre-adjust. It doesn't have a lockout. It doesn't have anything. It's just bare bone, generic fork. You know, the bike, the frame is good. If you want to, take this whole thing apart and then put all new parts on it, you're buying a new bike, because this is about getting a new fork that's really worth it. Could be anywhere near 150 and above if you want to get a good fork. I got a new fork that's here. I'll be doing a video on that fork. It just doesn't look like it's going to work on this one. There's a lot of work that you could do to this bike to make it way more appealing and fun to ride on a trail. But as it stands out of the box, like it is right now, light trails, light stuff, not too crazy. You can do some jumps with it. It has the fat tires that do absorb a lot of it dampens a lot of the load that you have, the bumps. The fork, somewhat okay with that. It will bottom out. It's not pre-adjust. You can't add any air to this. You can't do anything with this. It's just bare bone, okay? It's a generic old school kind of fork where it's just nothing you can do with it. Other than that, the bike is a nice bike. I do recommend if you can get your hands on it, get it. It's very hard. It is still out of stock right now on their website, so it's not out yet. I mean, it's out, but it's just not available right this minute, or as of today, which is August 14th for 21. All right, guys, this is Chris again. If you have any comments or any suggestions about this bike, leave it in the comments, and I will definitely get back to you on what I had to do. I know there might be a lot of questions on what to do if you already bought this bike and you're waiting for it to come in the mail, or if you're looking for this bike like other people are. I know you might want to know, how does it feel for a ride? I am going to go for a ride with it. I am going to do city riding, urban. I'm going to also do a trail, a light trail, and a little bit more of a difficult trail. And I'm going to ring it. I'm going to show everything. I got my GoPro camera, and I'm going to do it. And I'm going to show everything about this bike and how it feels and what do I think for just normal street riding and a little bit of off-road, downhill, a little bit of dirt, a little bit of bumps, a little bit of jumps. I'm going to do some jumps with this, and I'm going to see and show you exactly how this bike, in my own eyes and in my own experience, is. All right, guys, have a good day, and see you on the trails.